Pixar and just Disney in general has kind of been a fucking dump the past few years because they are kind of low on ideas right now. I think they're slowly entering another dark age around. Pixar's been making shit films that people actually like, which I don't. But anyway, Pixar's just become a very different company in the past few years, and specifically check out Nitpick's videos on It's Pixar Dead. I would say my specific opinion, but I basically agree with everything in the video, so I'm not going to go over that, save you some time. But anyway, so their new strategy essentially is, oh hey, let's get something we already own, and we're either gonna sequel or remake it. And for example, now there are good films that Disney's been remaking. Made plenty of films that I do enjoy, and plenty of other shit ones. Now then, so Pixar essentially relies on, okay, we made some decent thing in the past, and then we're just gonna, we're gonna make it into something else new that everyone's gonna like. So specific examples of this are ones that people actually like. Now, Incredibles 2, which we're talking about today, got enormously great reviews. It was made more money than any other animated film at the time that I'm recording this, and it's just wow. Okay, so this was actually really like sequel. Now, I fucking hated this movie because it's just the purest example of why Pixar is lazy. Now, there are other things like Finding Dory, which was well received and also made a shitload of money. It was the highest grossing animated film that was out at that specific time, but it wasn't as drastically hated. I consider it in like a everything is okay movie, but like specific other things like say Monsters University, which I consider the worst Pixar movie, or other things like just the entire Cars trilogy, which people fucking hate because yeah, they're not good. But you see, specific things that I consider worse than this are actually well liked. So the overall mixed reception of Pixar is extremely predominant, but most people seem to like their recent films. Like Coco got extremely overrated reviews. I do not consider Coco a bad movie at all, but it was extremely overrated. Incredibles 2 was fucking shit, and it was extremely overrated. Toy Story 4, I'm guaranteed, is going to be extremely overrated, and it's also probably going to get its own video if it's bad enough, because Incredibles 2 is the perfect example of how Pixar is lazy. I do not think it's the worst film, but I think it's easily their laziest. The things I like. Okay, there are some scenes before the halfway mark that are actually quite well executed, and the animation is great. Frozone is a better developed character in this movie, and that's literally it. No advantages were taken. Alright, so the script for this movie is incredibly lazy. Now, the distance between the release dates of 1 and 2 was pretty drastic. Now, yes, this does imply that this is a cash grab, but making a sequel for something that had been out for a long time makes a lot of sense, since the last installment opens up many creative opportunities for what the movies could use. For example, Star Wars sequels excel in the specific creativity. Yeah, I'll like all of them, fight me. But, these came out a long time since the original trilogy, so it's cool to see these characters old and in a specific new form of reality. It's taking advantage of the time jump. Now, I'm not saying it specifically had to do this, but Incredibles 2 came out 14 years after the original, and not only would that allow enough time for good ideas to flow in, but I think people behind it could come up with a basic idea that you couldn't really think like, oh, one of the family members is the villain. That is a more creative concept I didn't even think about that specifically could or could not make sense. I'm not even implying that this would make sense in the universe or whatever, but saying something like that is more creative than anything in this entire movie. Like, it was literally okay, these characters are iconic, and people want to see these characters on the screen again, and people will pay a shitload of money just to see it. Their favorite characters on the screen again, because if we said it in the future, they're the same characters, but they're not the characters that we actually made likable from, an actually fucking good movie. But anyway, so I'm not saying it had to specifically take advantage of the time jump, but it would have been a very useful tactic, but they didn't do it because that would make less money. Established distance between each film, but like something wrong, like the Incredibles was meant to end at the specific first one. All the character arcs are perfectly wrapped up at the end of the first one, and then taken advantage. And I just gotta talk about the title for a second. Incredibles 2. Not The Incredibles 2, just Incredibles 2. Half the plot is filler. Okay, so the idea that they had for this is because feminism is popular, Elastigirl/Helen is separated on a mission, but Bob/Mr. Incredible has to watch over the family, but they just make his character an asshole because he doesn't know how to take care of children. So basically they have two separate plots. They have the actually decently entertaining plot that, actually revolves around actual superhero shit, and then just the dad that has no fucking clue what he's being an asshole to his children. So that's the specific plot. So it would have been cool to see these families separated, but each specific side of the story would eventually collide to something else, and it does do that, but the specific Mr. Incredible plot is just not entertaining. It literally just is allowed for specific character moments which people wanted to see, because keep in mind, people actually fucking love this movie because the characters they liked were back on screen. Jack. Alright, so this is one of the main reasons why I think they choose to pick up where the previous one left off, is the fucking hilarious Jack humor, because, well, yes, I think the joke when we have Jack being a little shit is a decently entertaining in the first one, but it also heavily featured this character in the first movie. Like, for example, they just get everything that was in the previous. Now, they see, like Edna Mode was only in this movie because of fucking dumb Jack filler. They have all this other stupid shit just for dumb Jack filler. Now, obviously, it's just like, oh, why actually write a fucking joke when we could write a fucking Jack? He's being a dumb baby. Oh, I'm a baby too. Epic, oh man, epic joke. A villain. Okay, so the villain of this movie makes no fucking sense. So the plan is that the stupid fucking twist that is my third least favorite animation trope, but she wants superheroes to remain illegal, yet she gets things specifically set up in which the superheroes could save the day, in which puts them in the spotlight, implying that the government should be like, maybe superheroes should be legal again. Now, obviously, if you didn't want them to be legal, then why are you doing this? Why are you purposely setting up all these things that you specifically want the heroes to succeed in? So, it gets pointlessly lifted at the end of the film. Now, also the villain, it's just not that's just a specific part of the character element, and those are decently animated scenes, but just like why? It's just not a cool character at all. Now, I'm not saying Syndrome was the coolest character, it's a very cliche character, but he specifically worked because motivation made sense, and this character just wasn't fucking stupid. The third act of this movie is the most predictable shit I've ever seen. Okay, so the screenslaver has like these goggles that take over other people's minds, so then we just meet up with these other superheroes which have fucking horrible designs. Like, look at these. These aren't entertaining, these aren't funny. What does this tell you about the character? Fucking nothing. Like these look terrible. Like, even if a Pixar movie sucks, there's always been good character design besides the good dinosaur. But anyway, this big-ass fight is being broadcast on TV, and yeah, this movie is set before, like, the alien craze and everything, we're specific, like, oh, aliens, Area 51, like, a bunch of conspiracy stuff, say, like, for example, this is set before, like, the JFK assassination, which is the king of specific, conspiracies and everything. But you figure there'd be people that are specifically aware of the screenslaver and have been, like, analyzing the shit out of, like, every piece of evidence and everything. Like a big-ass mess of all the shit they know about them in their basement and stuff. Like, you figured, since it's being broadcasted on TV, that you would have people that would notice, oh hey, those goggles are making the other superheroes evil and shit. Like how does nobody notice that? Like, at all? But then, anyway, so they fight in just this long-ass, boring, poorly choreographed fight that's on a lower scale on a fucking boat than the opening scene. Like, the opening scene, it has a bigger scale than this. Like, the biggest part for a movie should be with the specific final battle or whatever, because, it's the most threatening fight. That's why usually the fight scenes in the last act are usually the best, because they're the highest in scale. No, it just goes down, and then they win, and then superheroes are legal again, limiting the story for Incredibles 3. And honestly, Pixar is just going creatively bankrupt, and honestly, out of every Pixar franchise, Incredibles had the most potential to be an excellent franchise, but literally no form of passion was in plan of this film. Nothing met its expectations, and we just have a disappointing mess. I'm Dr. Henry, and I'm signing off. Honey, where's the good movie? Bitch, they don't make them no more!